Today we are going to cover the create new bot flow, and what exactly it means is it allows you to create new bot, and on clicking it you get a bunch of configurations that you have to fill in. So the flow name is the name of the flow. So I can will create a customer support bot. So we'll create customer support as the flow name, and description can be the description of the chat flow. So I can say this flow is for customer support. So I can be elaborate with it. So this gives me the context as to what exactly is the flow is for, and then followed by session time in second. So session time in second, basically what it means is how long the chat flow will be active, as there are multiple chat flows. So each chat flow would have its own session. In this case, I'll give it as 5 minutes. So what does that mean? Chat flow will be active for 5 minutes. Post that, it will terminate, right? Apart from that, the second option is invalid input. So invalid input is how many times the user can enter an invalid input consecutively before the chat flow ends. So what it means is, if I say, if the chat flow expects a particular input, let's suppose it expects the user to select one, right? Instead the user enters something else, and it would re-utter itself 2 times. So after 2 times, if the user still enters an invalid input, it's going to terminate the session. And this I'm going to cover in the later sections. Apart from that, re-utter message. So these are the re-utter message. When the user enters an invalid input, what should be the message? So I say, hey, I could not follow you. This would be the message that would be sent when the user enters invalid input, right? Now, post that comes the terminate message. So terminate message is basically the end of the what would the message at the end of the session gets terminated. So this can be either when the session time ends, which is after 300 seconds, or it could be after the user enters invalid input consecutively. The session's termination won't be triggered if the chat flow finishes the entire journey successfully. So if so while you build the chat flow, there is something called as exit chat, which is completing of the chat flow at a successful completion of the chat flow. So in that case, the terminate message won't be sent. So I'll cover that also in the later section. So I say thank you. This will be the message that will be sent on termination, followed by termination webhook URL. So this is basically on termination. If I want to trigger one of the chat flows, I could do that. I can call a termination webhook URL, and it would get triggered, right? Let's suppose on once the chat flow is ended, if I want to call any CRM to update whatever data has been created, I could do that, right? And there is something called as language selection. There are different languages that are supported. In this case, I'll select 2 languages, English and Hindi, right? So once I do this, apart from this, so I have to re-utter messages. So for both the languages, right? So I say thank you, and sorry, so it should be. I couldn't follow you. Let me just copy this and do a Google Translate of this. Right. So in this case, I would say copy this. Right here. Next is thank you. Right. We'll cover this as to how this would actually be shown in the chat flow. For now, we'll just paste this, copy, and yeah. And this is the channel. So in this case, we have enabled WhatsApp and web channel for this account. However, there are other channels also supported like RCS, Insta, Facebook, right? But for this account, we have only enabled WhatsApp, and majority of the demos are for WhatsApp, and using the different channels are almost the same, right? So reminder message. What are reminder messages? Reminder message is a message that if that I can set when a user does not respond for a particular interval, then we would be triggering the reminder message. And also remember, I can add as many reminder messages as possible. However, the sum of all these messages should not exceed the session time, right? Because if a session is 300 seconds, right, then having reminder post 300 seconds does not make sense. So you won't be allowed to add more than that. So I can have 60-60, which is 120, but the sum of it should not exceed 300 seconds. So I say, in no input, let me just say you have not completed the flow one, right? And then let me just have one more thing. You have not completed the flow 2, right? So I do all this and I will save the chat flow, right? Yes, I think there is already a flow with the same name, so it's not allowing me to create customer support demo. Let me just rename it to this, and in this case, it should allow me to create. So this flow has been created. As you can see, this flow has been created, and you can see this flow is in draft state. This is not published yet, and this is a subflow, and there is nothing done. So if I try to use it, I won't be able to use it. So that's about it for this section. We'll be covering in the next section how to create a simple Hello World bot. Thank you.